Hello, today we're going to be going over definitions we're going to be using in this class, including variables and constants. Should be a super short and simple video, should be stuff you've heard before. But first you see this question on my screen. So which of my friends is the strongest? So when we're using the scientific method, it could answer even really simple. We can use it to answer really simple questions like this. It doesn't have to be very complex questions. So which of my friends is the strongest? So my answer or my guess would be my largest friend is probably the strongest. So before we move on, let's identify the terminology, the definitions we're going to be using in this unit and really for the rest of the course. So here are the definitions I need you to know as soon as possible. A hypothesis. So that was kind of my answer, right? So it's my best guess answer to a question. And it should be three things: testable, measurable, and it should contain independent and dependent variables. So all these things. And of course, it has to answer the question. It can't be irrelevant to the question. But these two things are very important. Can you test your answer and can you measure something with it? Can you put a value to it? Can you put a number with a unit next to show that your hypothesis is correct or you need to fix it? Maybe it's incorrect. And it's okay for it to be incorrect. I just don't want you to focus on it being perfect from the get-go. Is it testable and is it measurable? So then you have your constant. So a constant is something that doesn't change. This is something that I don't want through the course of the experiment to change at all. And we'll talk later about why that would be important. So variables is the opposite of a constant. It's something that does change. And we have two different types of variables, the independent and the dependent variable. And even if you haven't heard this before, you could probably already guess just by dependent, independent. The independent variable is something that is not changed by other variables. It's not dependent on another variable. So this is the thing that we are trying to control. So it's a variable because it changes, and it's usually changed because the person doing the experiment is making the change. And the dependent variable is the variable that we're measuring. This is how we're going to get a result and either prove or disprove our hypothesis. And it's changing because we're messing with the independent variable. If we change the independent variable up, maybe the dependent variable goes up or down. Or if we change it down, maybe the dependent variable goes the other way. Hopefully there's a correlation, or else we're going to have to revise our experiment. But it's the thing that we're ultimately measuring. We don't know this to start out with, and it changes based off of how we change the independent variable. Okay, so let's go back to our question and our answer. So I've got my question and I've changed my answer to hypothesis because it's just my best guess. So which of my friends is the strongest? So my largest friend is probably the strongest. Okay. So can I test this? Yeah, sure. We can all go to like the gym or something and see who lifts the most weight. So it's very testable. Is it measurable? Sure, yeah, like the if you've ever been to a gym, even if you haven't been to the gym, you've seen dumbbells or weights. They have, numbers on the side in kilograms and pounds, and I can see, who's lifting the most weight. So it's very measurable. So does it contain an independent and dependent variable? So go ahead and guess what you think the independent and dependent variable would be. Okay, so the independent variable would be really like the size of your friend. So when I say my largest friend, I'm really testing, or I'm looking at the size of my friends. And I can control this by just, which friends are in the experiment. I can have like a smaller guy, some bigger guys, and like kind of put them in order so I can control, to an extent how large or the distribution of mass of my friends that are in the experiment. And the dependent variable would be their strength. This is what I'm trying to find out. So who's the strongest? So that should be my dependent variable. So it contains both the dependent and independent variables. So this is actually a fine hypothesis for purposes of this class. In the next video, we're going to actually talk about how to set up this experiment and gather data.